RingGangRadio.com. Take over. Last mission. Final boss mode. What it do?
Yeah, what's good, yo? Welcome to another episode of Real Talk, where as always, the shit's real, we talk about it. I'm your host for tonight, Pat Scorpion, and I'm gonna represent, and as always, I got my man with me. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey, what it do, God? My name is Shuttleworth. It's LB, Lauderdale Boss. Yeah, RingGangRadio.com.
This nigga, yeah. Yo, LB, you killed me with that. Yo, goodness, yo, you took me out of my space, bro. Took me, you know what I'm saying? That's the GOAT artist right there. You know, he might have been sipping a little bit too much earlier, but that's all right, though. That's my man, though. And I got my other man with me. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hi, my name is fuck that shit. You already know who this is. Your boy King P, Bodega Boxing in the building. Ring Gang Radio all day. What up?
Hey, Bodega Peace. No, straight from the sewer. Although I think today you above ground today. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm above ground. I'm not with the rats today. I'm with the dogs. Where my dogs at?
That's what I'm talking about. You know, but as always, man, we do salute you for your service. You know, keeping our city safe from all these miscreants and thieves and vandals and niggas that be wearing black pajamas and shit like that, thinking they know ninja, but they don't. They be getting served all day, every day, man. We salute you for your service, man. Word up. And then also we have my other man with me. I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
What's happening? It's your boy Conscious Pilot, aka the West Coast Avenger, #1 contender. Lift off, destination Ringing Radio. Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about, Pilot. He stays elevating, bro. He always stays above the clouds, man. You know, that's a good look, man. And I got another one who's actually made it to another show, so soon, man. I was actually surprised though, but I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
I'm back. Look at that. You already know who the fuck it is. It's your boy Rome, top 5 in the building. Chicago stand up. What's good?
Yeah, my man Rome, aka Chicago Win, because he leaves these niggas in the breeze, man. So it's good for him when he circles back, to talk to the gang and whatnot, man. So salute for being on here.
Can I go again? I fucked up on my intro because I got a call at the same exact time.
Moved on next.
Yeah.
And my next man we introducing is, go ahead, nigga.
This is Jason Ryan. I don't have any AKAs. I gotta work on that, but I am known for Odd Ninja Media, home of Jericho Cutter, and I'm known for Black Droog. Black Droog is just some dope artistic shit. We can get into that a little bit later, but thanks for having me, fellas.
Oh no, man! The pleasure is ours, man. Man, you have more names than a Wu-Tang member, bruh. Jeez.
See, that's the thing. That it's not AKAs. It's just I come because there was a whole thing with all these different names and shit, and I was like, yeah, I need a name. I don't want it to be me, so I need to come up with a name. Like the whole Black Droog thing was like some cartoon character I made up because I didn't want to be the face of the art.
That's what it is.
Yeah. I'm just Jason.
Yeah, and so we got your full name, Jason B. Ryan, man. And, you heard his names, man. So like I said, welcome to our show, man. Like I said, in the last month or so, your name has been buzzing around here, man. And it's definitely an honor for us to have you on the show. So why don't you tell us about yourself some more? Basically your background and stuff like that.
Yeah, what's your professional background? Mm-hmm. You a random dude just come up here,
I mean, you my man. So my boy hit me up and he's like, yo, you trying to do this podcast? And I was like, all right, bet. But let me stop. I mean, my background is, I have a background in media. I work in television. I've been working in television for a long time, like 14 years. I did television production in college, Hampton University. Then I was able to get an internship at a cable network, TV One. I worked there. I also worked at a television news network. At the same time, I was working at TV One, so I was getting the cable side and I was getting the news broadcast side. News is insane, by the way. Like, I never want to have a career working in news because it's crazy. It's just like everything is constantly moving. And at the time I was doing it, I did it for like 5 or 6 years, working both jobs. And it was like, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world back when I was working at that news network. And it was like, nah, never. I never want to make a full-time career out of this. So that was a good experience because it gave me focus.
Hold on, you said there was a lot of crazy shit going on in the world at that time.
So
what was one of them crazy things? Because a lot of crazy shit going on right now. So I don't want people to be like, damn, hold on, like,
I know,
like in the future. Or...
Oh yeah. Well, the thing is, the news network I worked at, they covered world news. So,
damn.
Anytime something happened in the world, it was a big story. But the first big thing that happened is I was working there when Barack Obama was running for president the first time. So that was huge. That was huge.
Okay.
And the news network was in DC, and anything politics related, they were all over it. So the Barack Obama first presidency run was huge for them. Then there was the uprising in Egypt. There was the Haiti earthquake. Actually, if y'all remember that huge earthquake in Haiti,
yeah, we do. Yep.
We ain't get Andre Bordeaux versus Shane Mosley because of that.
Right.
Boxing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I remember everything because of boxing.
Nah, that's what's up, man. But yeah, like that was a huge world event that happened. And the crazy thing is, when I worked at that network, the shifts in the department where I worked, they were 12-hour shifts. So you either came in at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. Because I was working another full-time job, I came in at 5 p.m. But like when I got there, it was the same day that the Haiti earthquake happened, and they already had people that they flew down to Haiti. They were doing satellite transmission. They were doing live, you know how in the news they do the live hit, like reporting live from
live
some
feeds
crazy
and stuff
shit
like that.
Yeah. And the department where I worked was responsible for like pulling in all those satellite feeds and then sending them into the live news show. So that was like, it was out of control. And that's just like, there's probably some other stuff that happened that I kind of just blocked out because it was just chaotic. But that scene, that live newsroom is not for me. I did it in college. That was what I studied in college. I studied broadcast journalism. Right. I got the opportunity to work in news early on in my career, and that was the perfect time to do it because I knew that I never wanted to do it long term.
You said fuck that Peter Parker shit, huh?
Yeah, I did not want to be Peter Parker. I didn't want to be Clark Kent. None of that. None of that. It was wild. It was wild. But I learned a lot from doing that. And just that experience of, like that production experience of, there's real things happening in the world right now, and we're taking that and putting it into a television show. There was a lot that I learned from that whole process and everything. So like I said, I did that off and on. I was a freelancer there, did that for about 6 years. I was working full time at the cable network, and I was just doing at the cable network. I was just doing any and everything. I was in a library with VHS tapes, organizing VHS tapes.
You was paying dues. That's what you was doing.
I was paying dues. I was answering the phones. I was if they had like some big, I remember they did like this show with Terrence Howard, and one of the executives was like, yeah, I need you to look up everything you can find out about Terrence Howard and email it to me. Can you do that? I was like, yeah, sure. Like,
Did you
yeah, I
say-
got you.
Yes, sir. Or did you say, okay, man?
Okay, man, I got you, man. But yeah, I was like, so it's like stuff like that. Like I said, I was answering phones. I was editing videos to put on the website. Like I was just doing everything. I was all over the place because it was like I'm at this cable network early in my career. It just launched. I'm like, I'm gonna get the most out of this that I can and learn everything I can about the television business while I'm here. So like I did a lot of things.
I just want to interject real quick. That's message. That's message for y'all. You know, from what Jason just said, man. Sometimes, man, like in order to get to where you need to get, man, you gotta start from the bottom. And sometimes you gotta do this stuff, and it's not just in his industry, but in other industries as well. I can relate because I'm in the IT industry, and like I said, I mean, and what he was talking about is like almost similar to what I had to do, in order to get where I needed to be, man. So yeah, no, I definitely relate with what you just said about that, man. So like, I just want to interject real quick and just, tell people just like that's a message moment right there.
Yeah.
Nah, that's dope. That's dope. You point that out because yeah, like that's how you got to do. Like you can't be like you're no matter what you're doing, you always should be in a state of learning. Like there's always something new you can learn. Like even when you've mastered a certain area, there's still things you can learn from it. And that's kind of how I approach things in general. It's like, what can I learn from this? But yeah, that's a great point that you made about that. Like you just soak it all in, and then it just makes you better at what you want to do. Because back to the story, like I always knew that I wanted to write. Like I wanted to write movies and TV shows and stuff like that. Matter of fact, the movie Spike Lee's Bamboozled, when I saw that movie for the first time in college, I was like, yo, I want to work in television. Like that movie, that movie inspired me. It's a classic.
If you ain't seen that movie, see that.
Classic.
Yes, it is a definite classic. But yeah, like that movie motivated me to want to work in the television and film industry. Like I had done some other stuff, like we did like a short film in high school for a class, and that was like super dope and a lot of fun. But like I wasn't really focused on what do I want to do for my career. But seeing that movie, it just kind of hit a light bulb because I always wanted to write stories. I didn't really know what medium I wanted to go. Then around that time in college, I just started trying to figure out how to write movies. I read some screenwriting books, and I downloaded some screenplays off of all those little like bootleg sites where you can just get a screenplay of like a real movie, and it'd be like stuff that I had seen before, so I could read the screenplay and I can already know what the movie looked like.
That's what it is. That's what's
so
up.
It just helped me learn. So I just kept learning when I graduated college, was working these 2 jobs. Working those 2 jobs at one point actually was 3 jobs because I was working at Best Buy part-time too. And it was
the hustle was real, bro.
It was a hustle. There were days when I was working in 24 hours, I went to 3 jobs. There were several days like that because I had the full-time job, the Monday through Friday job. Then I had the freelance job at the news network. Then I had the part-time job at Best Buy. So like there were days, sometimes multiple days a week, when I would go to all 3 jobs in 24 hours. And it was
damn. This sound like that Living Color skit. The hey man, and then they talk about like everybody got different jobs. Like they in the courtroom, like the dad, the judge, the mom, the bailiff, the son, a lawyer. Like, hey man, you're guilty of not having a job. My goodness, this nigga was doing everything.
Yeah, you was honored, bro. Salute that.
You paid it forward to the next generation. Like
I was trying, but I mean that was just to live, because none of those jobs were really like high paying at the time. So I was just trying to be able to pay the rent. But I feel like part of the like having that hustle and having that grind out of necessity, it kind of helped me in my creative ventures because I always knew like one day I want to be able to live off of writing and creating. And
I feel that honestly, we definitely feel that. I know me and LB, we've talked about that, like offline a whole lot, Yeah, so it feels better though, like, something that you create from your mind or whatever, from talent, and then just be able to like sit back and try to reap the benefits of it after some point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like back then, like this was around like 2000, like the time when I was working the 3 jobs at once, it was like around 2009 to 2010 or 11. But yeah, it was always in the back of my mind about creating, and the significant part of that story is that was the time when I created Jericho Cutter, that now is this comic book series. That was when I created it, when I was at that point. Like I created Jericho Cutter a long time ago. And that's another thing about looking at the long-term plan. Like I didn't release it until this year, but I first wrote it back in 2010. And it's like I never let go of it. I never forgot about it. It was always something that I knew I was going to put out at some point in my life.
Message.
Right. But I didn't get impatient. I didn't like try to force anything. I just, let it go how it was going to go. I worked on other things. And then, there was, I don't want to keep rambling because I can keep telling the story for a minute, but what I think an appropriate place for me to stop for a second is back then when I was creating this Jericho Cutter project, and we can talk more about it if you guys want me to go deep into that.
I definitely have a question about Jericho Cutter.
Oh, absolutely. So I'll just pause at this point, but like I spent all that time working the 3 jobs. I was writing this Jericho Cutter. I think I was working in Best Buy, and I worked in the department that sold video games and music and DVDs. It was like the perfect place to work for me. If I had to work retail, that was the perfect situation.
Word.
But like I was looking at, like I would buy like all these anime DVDs and stuff, and I came across Afro Samurai. I missed it when it aired on TV, and I came across that, and I was like, I missed it on Spike TV. I was late. But then when I saw it,
I feel you. I did too, bro. I did. My pops taped this shit later for me. I feel you.
Yeah, I missed out, but I was like, yo, this is the dopest shit I've ever seen. And I was like, I want to create a black ass superhero just like this. And that initial thought was what was the seed planted in my mind to create Jericho Cutter. And I think the significant part of the story is that was a time when I was like really, really grinding and hustling. Like I said, working three jobs. But I just stayed focused on that creativity, and that's where he came from. That point in my life.
Word.
Yeah, definitely, man. So yeah, you definitely. I mean, yeah, like you've definitely, you definitely described like the hustle of things and just trying to get put on. But my question is more towards Jericho Cutter. Like, how did you come up with Jericho Cutter? Like the character, and like who is he based off? Anyone specific? From a movie or someone that or just someone you just birthed, just out of you manifested that shit like out of your mind, just like that. I'm just curious.
Yeah. So it's kind of a combination of all of those, really. Like the first thing, like I said, I was watching Afro Samurai and I was mesmerized by it, and I wanted to create like some like really, really cool, badass black man in that type of situation. Then I started thinking, okay, so what is it going to be? Like, I want it to be futuristic. I want it to be like, that lone wolf man on a mission type of thing. I knew that part of it. The name Jericho just came to my mind. Like, I don't even know where that came from, but I liked the way it sounded. So I was like, yeah, his name's going to be Jericho.
Word.
The name Cutter it's kind of a shout out to Wesley Snipes, because if you remember Passenger 57,
Hell yeah.
his character's name was John
Classic.
Cutter. Classic movie. And like Wesley Snipes was like one of my favorite like action heroes back in the day. Like I don't know.
He's still one of our favorite action heroes today.
Yeah, he's still that dude.
Yeah, he still is. He still is. But it's like I don't want to sound like too like corny and cheesy, but I don't remember it's like really paying attention to like a black man in those type of roles before him. They existed. Like I remember Carl Weathers. Like Carl Weathers was dope.
Action
Jackson and all that shit. And oh, by the way, I didn't realize this until much later, but Carl Weathers' name in Action Jackson is Jericho. Yeah. And it kind of was like subconscious. It was like subconscious because I used to love that movie when I was a kid. But I didn't piece that together until later. I was like, oh shit, maybe that's where that name Jericho came from. But I didn't think about it at the time. I wasn't actively doing it, but it's like, yeah, like Jericho Cutter is named after characters portrayed by like two of the badass black men to ever be in film. So it's perfect. It worked out. It's almost like
after the whole black exploitation period, where you weren't having, the Fred Williamsons and Black Belt Jones and all them dudes.
Right.
Jim Kelly's, or even someone who doesn't get a lot of mention, like Steve James, rest in peace. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There was definitely a whole lot. There was definitely black action stars, but
the guy who just died. I can't remember his name. Nigga. He was in Truck Turner too.
Oh, Isaac Hayes?
The bad guy.
Yeah, Kodo.
Yeah, Kodo. Yeah, R.I.P. Yeah.
But with them, like that was like the stuff like my dad and uncles were watching. Like I didn't relate as much as until I got older. But like in the late 80s and the 90s,
that was for us.
Yeah, like that was when I really like actually cared about what I was looking at and really was like looking for who was going to be like my action hero. And it was, for the time, it was Carl Weathers and Wesley Snipes, like as ones that you relate to because they look like me. I mean,
Max.
Yeah,
so slim pickings though too.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. I mean, and that's
fathers at that era, they had everybody, but us, like they gave us a handful of niggas like,
right.
Here you go, Passenger 57.
Right. And Wesley was all over the place. And that's not saying I wasn't. Of course, I was watching the Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Van Damme and all. Like I love action movies, but to see the brothers, it was obviously it was more of a personal connection. Because it's like, wow, like that's a black man doing that. Like he looked like he could be my uncle. Like, yeah, that's so awesome. But yeah, so like it was so. Back to answering the question, I kind of went off track, but yeah, so like that Wesley Snipes black action star in big budget movies was a huge influence on Jericho Cutter. Like I said, Afro Samurai, seeing that, the futuristic world with this lone wolf, badass black man, doesn't do a lot of talking, but he does a lot of ass whipping. That was a huge influence as well. And then I kind of just built it out from there. Like it just kind of became its own entity from that. And, I had that general premise. Then I would just I'd be like, okay, well, where is he from? It's like, all right, so this is where he's from. And then I say, all right, well, what is his power? And then I came with okay. So then I was like, well, how did he get it? And then I would write that and think through that and be like, okay, well, who gave him the power? Was he born with it or did somebody create it? And I just kept going out and out and out and building this entire world around this one character.
And that's also important too. Like world building is an important thing in not just like animation, like just regular live action films too, because the more you world build, the more easier it is to really get sucked into just to get sucked into the world and be able to at least not only understand the character but understand everything around it. So I mean,
You can sell more merchandise.
I agree, but I will say, Pat, that I do like world building as long as it doesn't come to the expense of character building. Character building trumps everything else. Then world building to me. Because I just noticed this because that's like one of the big gripes that I have, especially like now in like anime and mangas. Like they do so much world building, but the character building is such shit. It's just like, okay, cool. I don't even give a fuck about the world building if your characters are shit.
That's a great point. That is an excellent point because character is what is important. And to your point, it's like you build this world. Like with me for Jericho Cutter, I built the entire universe that Jericho Cutter exists in. Well, the entire world. So I went all the way back to the creation of this world where he lives through the destruction of this world. And Jericho Cutter, his story takes place somewhere in the middle. But I don't have to write or release all of that. I just need to write it to understand my character. Because, like you said, the character is what's important. You can have this whole extensive world and all these side characters and all these spin-offs and all that, but the character, your main character, has to be the primary, and that has to be what's important.
Absolutely, because I'm a big advocate of like I'm big into like who is this character and being invested in this character. If you have a main character, I feel like I need to be invested in him to want to see him do his thing. So it's like, who is this Jericho person, and sell me on why I should care about him. So type of thing. That's how I look at it. And then the world building comes afterwards. Then that's the icing on the cake afterwards.
Yep.
Or how about, we just have character building and world building at the same time?
Some people can't pull that off.
But you kind of do it in stages, and that's what, like, it's like I had the general idea of what I wanted Jericho to be. But then I created the world in order to put his actions in context, and creating that backstory, from his birth through his present day. It helps me understand like the way he will react to certain things, the types of things he would say to people. It really helps you to know the character.
Absolutely.
So like building all that backstory and all that, like I said, it doesn't mean you have to release all that. Like, it's not like you're writing all of this because, I'm going to tell this story from beginning to end. No, you need to know that so that you know your character.
To your point, LB, what you're saying, why you can't, why can't you do both? You can. It's just that's one of the things that I'm pointing out, especially nowadays. I feel like the problem is people use world building as sort of like cheap parlor tricks to where you're not even really thinking about the character. It's like, oh, the character is mid, so they're just gonna put out new worlds and stuff like that and new environments as, like I said, as parlor tricks.
I watch a lot of anime. That's what's going on right now. It's like a lot of stories, they focus more. It's like instead of building up both at the same time, like the Jericho Cutter story is done, they give you a character and the character is fleshed out maybe 15%, but they drop them in a world and the world is fleshed out 85%.
Right. And then it's
multiple places are doing it, so I get it. Like that's my nigga Jason doing it right.
I'm trying to do it right. I'm trying to make sure that, it's great that you all brought that point up, because I definitely want people to like the comic because of Jericho. I want people to keep reading it and want to come back because of all the other stuff going on around him. But I want, the goal is for Jericho to be this action star, superhero, futuristic black man that people can empathize with. They want to see him win, understand they see his flaws. That's another thing. Like you got to expose people's flaws at their human side. Like it can't just be like this superhero that's infallible and everything always works out perfectly for them and they always have the right thing to say, and you know what I mean? Like, you got to expose that human side and the sometimes the dark side of that character, so you really can empathize with them as a human.
Word.
You know, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to build something real with this.
Okay. So let me see if I can ask you some questions and kind of we dig more into the beneath the surface of the Jericho Cutter universe and the process.
Right, before you get into that, are we pretending like you weren't down from day one, or are we just gonna go right into it? Are you playing? Are you playing host mode and you asking me questions, or are we really gonna get into the?
Oh, you know, I forgot all about that. Like real talk. I am playing host mode. I'm also like, all right, this nigga's next. All right, we got him here. Hey, King P, what you think about this? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Tell the proper story. My bad.
All right, I'm gonna tell the abridged version of the story, then I'll let you do your thing. I didn't want to hijack your show, but
no, this is your show, bro.
This is your show, bro. You good, yo? This Ring Gang, bro. It's not like any other show in the world. You come in here, you say your shit.
Nah, it's dope. I appreciate it. Y'all are some good dudes, man. I really enjoy being on here already. So yeah, to tie this whole Jericho Cutter thing back into the Ring Gang, and the connection. So I don't even remember how long ago it was, but it was a long ass time ago. I was
2013,
maybe before that. I was like 12 or 11. Maybe it was 12.
Nah, with the colleague?
Yeah, that was 13. Yeah, it was 13.
I think it was 2013.
Yeah, it was
I'm trying
13.
to think, like, I met Clanarchy first, right?
I thought it was like the same. Well,
I think it was at the same time, but...
So, yeah, around 2013.
Yeah.
I started... So, in 2013, I had been working on Jericho Cutter, the story, as a whole since 2010. And I'd been writing. It was like my primary writing goal. I just kept writing that. Then once I felt like I was in a good place to just put that project to the side, my creative mind somehow told me that I need to start making beats. So I started making music. I've got some software, got all these weird samples, started making beats, and you know, then I found the Kali.com. They had a dope forum on there, and I started posting my beats on SoundCloud and posting them on the Kali. Yeah, shout out to the Tunnel Gang. And then there was this dude on there, Lauderdale Boss, who was like, he just finished doing a mixtape with all these Kali producers, all these dudes from the Tunnel on the website that will post their beats. And he hit me up one time. And he was like, yo, I want some of that. Like, I'm trying to do this album and I want some of that dark RZA type shit you be doing. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh shit. That's like somebody, like a rapper is asking me for beats and I'm just doing this shit for fun. Like, oh yeah, that's what's up. So we got to talking, and then in that conversation, we found out we were on the same page with anime and comics. We have a similar taste in music, and then that built into the Soul Wars, his comic book series. Was that what we did first? We did that first, or did the other? Yeah, so we did that first. It was like he would just send me these random songs. Like, I don't even know where he got this shit from. But
now you know some of these samples of. Y'all ever seen the horror movie Troll?
Mm-hmm.
From the 80s or 70s?
Yep.
You remember them singing mushrooms that sounded demonic as fuck? Nigga, I sent him that shit.
I was like, yo, this dude is weird as shit, but I respect it. But I guess I fell right into it because he liked the beats I did. But like, we were doing that shit, and then I think that was when you were like, because I don't think I knew you were like that much of an artist. like visual artist at the time. I think that conversation came from doing that album, and then we did the comic book. Like he did all the drawings and did the story, and then I was like, yeah, well, I can color them on Photoshop. I got you, bro. That was like a huge undertaking. Like I don't even know how I pulled off doing that, but we did that for like the first two, then dropped the album, and Shutterworth did the album cover and all this dope artwork with this rapping dude fighting demons and shit like that, and then the angel was coming to help him. Like,
that's
like,
Spartacus sample.
Yeah, the Spartacus sample. That was
like
my
one of the
favorite
best
one.
Black Groove beats. That Spartacus sample.
That was my favorite one. Yeah. That was my favorite one that I did with that project. Well, except the one that you rejected. I mean, I'm not in my feelings, but that beat was fire.
Don't worry, LB, you know, he'll reject a lot of different things. So that's just him. That's how he's got to take it.
Oh yeah, I know that's part of the process. I just keep mentioning that one beat every now and then just to like, hopefully, like maybe he'll use it one day because I think I love that.
Let that nigga know he need to drop a verse on that shit.
right. Just to remind him that there's some heat sitting there waiting for him.
I do have some Black Groove beats still in the stash that I'm gonna revisit. Like I got some joints there. Like definitely, we ain't even put out I think Bastard yet. Like,
oh yeah, that's right. But yeah, oh yeah, so that was my other life. Like I'm not gonna say Black Droog is an alias, but like I was Black Droog's ghostwriter, if that makes sense.
It do.
All right. Like Black Droog is not me, but I'm the guy behind Black Droog, and it was like this whole persona, but the not a persona, but it was a character that I created. And the thing about that is all the stuff I did under Black Droog kind of prepared me for this Odd Ninja venture, and it just taught me like everything I need to do, creating this brand, creating a product around the brand, and you know, yeah. But those were good times. But yeah, me and Shutterworth, we after that experience with his comic, and I was like, bro, like I've been writing this comic for a few years. Like let's do something with it. And I sent him a script. He was like, yo, this shit is dope. And we tried to do it. Like he did the artwork, he did the sketches and the inks for the pages, and I was trying to do the color. The color ended up being way too much of an undertaking for me at the time. Like I felt like I wasn't prepared. I wasn't the artist that I thought I was when we started this, and you know, it just got to be too much. But the thing about that process is that was like I knew Jericho Cutter was a real, like it became real at that point. Mm-hmm. Like this whole time I had this character that I wrote in the story and all these storylines that I wrote, but then that was an experience where it was real. And like we actually created it. Like we did we took the artwork and we did like a trailer for the comic. Even though the comic was never finished, we did the trailer for the comic. Then the legendary soundtrack theme song, which shout out to Ring Gang for producing that dope music video. But yeah, we did that back then.
Shout out to Pro for that. Yep.
Song was done like 8 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, I remember LB telling me that. I was like, nigga, are you kidding me? It's like how you sit that long on some fire like that? Like just
sight be on sight, like that ain't the only fire. Like if I was like even the songs I did with Black Drew, with that project with me, him, and Clanarchy for the Soul Wars, like I still had that sitting on there. And honestly, I probably would say that's probably some of the best Clanarchy beats and Drew beats out. But I'm just sitting on them, like, hold on, like, not yet.
Sitting on heat.
Because it's one of those projects where I provided all the samples. So just to give a little more background on it, like when Black Drew first started making beats, when he came there, he would make great like atmospheric sounds. And we had that dark gothic feel. And back then I would critique on everybody's beats and be like, all right, you need to add this there, turn this down. And I did that for a few his beats. And that's how we kind of linked up, because I was like, you know, how about you flip this? Like, you need to put this more of a structure for a song. And then we started corresponding and doing that. Then that's how we started, you know, making songs and projects. And then me and him.
Like,
and
if you think about it, Black Drew beats, it's like imagine you drowning in an alley. The music gotta come on and be a Black Drew. The music gotta come on and be a Black Drew.
What the?
Then you know it's a rap.
Because it's the beat, it's the mood. Like it be dark, it be gritty. It just, I don't know. It's like Black Drew, he make beats like no one else make them. Like it's on some different shit. All I did was just try to perfect it so I could rap on them shits, and it worked.
Yeah, like the structure, get the structure to it. Because the funny thing is, like with you and Rome saying that, is like when I started making beats and using Black Drew as the face of my beats, my goal was to make the type of shit that would be playing in like an anime or a horror movie or like a sci-fi movie,
Like
like
soundtrack music.
yeah, like I was
That's what it
making
was,
or like a video game, like that was what I was trying to do, like some ill sci-fi, like crazy ass sci-fi adventure type of shit, but with a hip hop edge to it. Like that was my goal.
Yeah,
That's what I was trying to do.
That's what it did.
Yeah, for real.
well, thank you. I'm glad that it worked. I'm glad to know that it worked. Because the crazy part is now I use a lot of those Black Drew beats I use for like, you know, like this how the song that me and Shutterworth did, it perfectly fits with the current Jericho Cutter. Like it matches the tone and the mood and all that. And like when I do like little videos and stuff, I use like old Black Drew beats and put them on my Odd Ninja promo videos. Like it's kind of like I didn't know at the time, but I was like making my own music library for all this sci-fi anime shit I'd be doing 10 years later, like without even knowing it.
Nah, bro, you knew. You knew.
It wasn't the plan, but it just worked out. Like I was just making the beats because it was fun. And the reason why I used Black Drew as the face of it was because I didn't want it to be me. Like I'm not a producer who's out here trying to get on and trying
on the cameras, on the videos, all that, you know.
Yeah, like I wasn't trying to do that. I just wanted to make beats because they were fun. Just because they were fun. Like I enjoyed that process. And it was a good, you know, like after I spent all that time writing Jericho Cutter for years, it was a good like break from that writing and then still be creative. So that's where I went into that whole music thing, and I was, you know, doing all these little cartoons with Black Drew, and I made it a whole story. Like Black Drew was like this weird producer. He lives on the moon and he makes beats and all this type of weird shit. Like it was just another element of my creative process.
Like honestly, Jay got some shit out there. Like he was putting together a lot of projects, but you gotta explain what happened during the lost years. And what I mean is the lost years, because you explain how we all linked up, you know, because even you and me in Clanarchy, because he was with us from the beginning. I know we all used to have like the little email thread, and Clanarchy would then be like, nah, you gotta add this to the beat, do this, because he was working on the iPad. Like I ain't never heard of no shit like that back then. I'm like,
I was
making beats off an iPad?
Yeah, I was too. You didn't know that?
Oh yeah, because you know what, both of you, he was giving you tips and shit. So y'all was bonding on that. So that's how the whole Iron Triangle came about.
I mean, he's much better than I am, but we use the same software. The same software,
yeah. And we worked on that album with it was like since all of us were Wu-Tang fans, we made like a Wu-Tang tribute album where both of them took like Clanarchy killed the mixing, man, but he don't do this shit no. He would take Wu-Tang vocals and put them on his own beats, but he would make a style like a Wu-Tang style beat. And honestly, some of this shit was sounding better than the shit that was coming out by Wu-Tang at the time. Because I remember dudes was like, man, this shit sound better than that. What was that that one Wu-Tang album that had the I think it was one of the 2014
Oh, that was
came
like
out.
eight diagrams.
It was 8 diagrams. Oh, there was another one. I
Or
think
the
it
one
was
after
Better
that.
Tomorrow?
the Better Tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's
Better
what it
Tomorrow.
was. Better
Yeah,
Tomorrow.
yeah.
Because I know niggas was like, damn, y'all got better beats and shit than fucking Better Tomorrow. Like, hold on. And I think we had put it out around the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like people was really fucking with the sound, but you know. So after we did that, y'all know me and Clan Archie, we still stayed close and we still stayed making music, the soulful shit. You know, but Clan Archie, he got different vibes. But Black Drew kind of, he faded in the background a little, you know.
Yeah.
He went from being like in the main, you know, all in the, like, not all in front of the TV, but like he went from being on the screen to like, hold on, like, chill, let me go back here
And be
with these
underground
pots
for a
and
little bit.
pans.
Yeah.
So-
I kind of, so when I
We're missing.
kind of, huh?
No, I'm saying like
Go
you
ahead.
went missing, so like
Yeah.
we want to know like during that time when me and Clan Archie was still doing our thing, grinding, and to put it on a world view, Pat making his boxing videos and shit. Everybody else is doing different shit. You kind of fell back, but during that time, I know you was low key developing the Cutter and the Cutter series and finalizing that, getting that on point. Because you and me, we did a few collabs during that time.
Yeah.
And we spoke, but you know, we weren't on it like that. Like no beef and nothing. We just niggas was busy.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
it slowly came
I
back
kinda,
out. And
yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, because I kind of fell back on the music, and like I still would do it every now and then, because like I did like just randomly did an album like not too long ago. And matter of fact, you and Rome did a track on one of those beats. The yeah. But I don't think you dropped it yet. But like I kind of
that should go hard.
Yeah. That was dope. But yeah, I was at that time I was focused on the writing. I was like, yeah, I'm a fall back on the music thing because it felt like I was doing it a lot, but I didn't really, like I said, I wasn't trying to be a music producer professionally or make a career out of it. It was something that I thoroughly enjoyed, but then I kind of was like, let me shift my focus into what I'm really trying to do long term, and that's the writing and developing, creating series, creating characters, creating shows, movies. And my personal creative venture, I was doing that. Like I wrote like 3 different pilot series, like sci-fi pilot series. I wrote an animated show. I started working on a movie. I brought Jericho Cutter back, and like I just read through all I had and kind of developed that a little bit more. And then professionally, I was moving in a direction where I was like more aligned with the creative side, like on the production side, and the timing of it was like I was putting all this energy into my personal creative ventures, and then on the professional side, I got more in the creative space professionally. And I remember like a mentor of mine told me one time, he was like, because this was a time when I was struggling. This is probably like the time where I was like working the multiple jobs and like, yeah, I need to do something better with my career.
Of
But a
course.
mentor of mine was like, he's like, you know, you need to keep doing what you're doing to pay the bills, but never stop on your creative, and then keep working until they're both aligned.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely. That's message right there. Message.
That was like some of the
Y'all
best
do that?
advice I ever got. That was some of the best advice I ever got, because I mean, it ended up happening where like on the professional side, I'm working with writers and I'm working with directors and I'm developing shows and stuff on the professional side, but then my personal creative, I want to write movies and I want to develop shows, and I'm developing all these shows that have no home. I'm doing it for myself. I'm building up my inventory so that when I have an opportunity, it's there. But like once those two aligned, I kind of just like hit, like I was in a good groove, and then COVID happened, and the pandemic happened, and it kind of just like everything had to just be kind of reset, because you know my industry, the television and film industry, shut down completely for months last year. And during that time I was like, well damn, I'm spending all this energy writing all these movies and TV shows and stuff, like, but I'm gonna have to sell them to somebody to produce them, and yet right now nobody's producing anything. So what am I gonna do? And I was like, at one point I was gonna write a novel. I actually started writing a Jericho Cutter novel, adapting it into a novel a while ago, but it was way too much to do. Then I was like, I need to do something. I was like, maybe I can just produce some animated shorts, and I can turn it into an anime series and do animated shorts, and I can turn all these scripts that I wrote into that. But animation is wildly expensive. Because I spoke to some artists, and it's very expensive. And then I just randomly, that's why I think there's like a lot of, like, it was kind of like divine timing in this whole situation, because I was just one late night, I was just browsing on the internet, and I just randomly went to Image Comics. It was saved on my shortcuts, and I just clicked on Image Comics. And the first article on the Image Comics page was the top 25 Black comic creators that you should be reading now. And I was looking through that, and I was like, oh shit. And then it almost felt like
what you doing?
Jericho Cutter like walked into my living room and was like, bruh, like, yeah, I'm here, I'm ready, let's go. Yeah, what the fuck are you waiting for? Wait.
You had one of those moments like in the movies where they're like, all right, I think it's time to get the gang back together. We about to go on tour again. Like you had that one of those realizations, like I could do this shit.
Yeah. Cause like,
that's what's up.
Cause I put, I put all that work into Black Drew, put that to the side. I had already put all that work into Jericho Cutter, which was originally written as a comic book, and I kind of put that to the side to write these movies and TV shows and stuff, because that was where my focus was. But then it just hit. It was like I said, it felt like he just walked into the room and was like, bruh, what you waiting for? And seeing that list of all these Black comic book creators, and knowing that I had this comic book series that was just sitting, that's when it clicked, and everything just kind of moved real fast. And one of the first people I reached out to tell us, like, bro, I'm about to create this comic book animation company. I'm bringing back Jericho Cutter. I'm doing some stuff with Black Drew. I'm bringing all of that. I'm doing all of it. But one of the first people I told about it was Shutterworth. And we actually did a Black Drew project that is still unreleased. It's still in development, but we actually worked on, like, that was the first project we did, was like some wild Black Drew mythology type of shit that we did.
Oh, you talking about the medieval joint?
Yeah, the medieval joint. That was one of the when I launched Odd Ninja Media, this brand, that Black Drew project was the first thing that I did, even before I got really deep into bringing Jericho Cutter back. But it's like you create this network of creatives around you, and it was like, that's what, when Shutterworth was talking about the lost years, like all this shit that I was just talking about were those lost years between us collaborating on projects. But then as soon as I kind of like figured it out, we just got right back into it.
That's true. Yeah, because it's funny, because when I was working on the medieval project with you, around that time, I think that was last year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was in the process of animating the I think that Ring Gang cartoon, but I think it was episode 2 at the time.
Yeah,
So it was so you know.
yeah, and it was
I'm
like
about the busiest nigga besides Drew down here.
right, but that was cool too because like the fact that like hadn't collaborated in all those years, we still were in touch like every like 6 months or so, be like a random text message or check-in. But the fact that like we kind of like were aligned in that point where like I want to launch this whole animation company and I got all these projects, you like, bruh, I've been doing animation for months, like I'm about to do episode 2 of my animated series. It was just the way things aligned perfectly without even knowing it at the time. You know, like that was just some dope shit, like that alignment right there. You know,
I mean, because I had paid voice actors. I mean, unpaid voice actors. Let me get started. Hold on, Jay. What you doing? I get my check. Hold on.
But yeah, man, it's just like, you know, it's been a great learning experience as I go. You know, like all the things, like I said, with me and Shutterworth doing the Jericho Cutter comic back in 2013, me doing all this Black Droog stuff, it just kind of like laid the groundwork for what Odd Ninja Media and what Jericho Cutter are now. And it just kind of like, you just pick up from where you were and just get right back to it. And that's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like all the work that you put in, it'll pay off in some way. You know, like when you're doing it for, you know, you're doing it for the right purpose. You're not like chasing a check, or you're not like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this because then I'm going to blow up. But when you're creating to build your brand and build your portfolio, give yourself experience and all that, like all that stuff will pay off. It's never wasted energy or wasted time. Like
Absolutely.
There's no wasted content. There's no wasted content, and it's all part of building your brand overall.
No such thing as wasted content. I mean, we making cartoons for songs niggas did almost 10 years ago.
Right.
So
Right.
fuck all that. Like,
Exactly.
Me and Rome rapping over beats that I done had like 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Coming out like, oh, niggas in the studio like, oh, damn, this shit hard. Like, who this?
Right.
So it works, man. But so let me get a little more specific with you, bro, before we get into the second part. What would you say? What was your favorite part of the process, and what was the worst part of the process of creating Jericho Cutter?
Well, my favorite part of the process, well, it's kind of two, but the favorite part is creating, like when I'm sitting down and I'm like just writing. Like there were times when I felt like I was just writing automatically, because the way I was writing Jericho Cutter was I was just doing a timeline of events, and I would just sit down and be like, okay, part 2. And I would just type, this happens, then that happens, and that happens, and that. I wasn't formatting it or anything. I was just writing the who, what, when, and where. Just creating that was my favorite part, because it was basically like started from scratch, and I'm just spitting out all this information and creating these stories and these characters and all this stuff, and then going back and, you know, revising it and editing and making some sense of it. But I think that's my favorite part of the process, just creating from scratch. But the most enjoyable part of the process is like creating the characters, the look of the characters. And I can't believe I've been going on this long without shouting out Tonio Maicon, who is the artist for Jericho Cutter. Tonio, the legendary Tonio Maicon. We actually met through a friend of a friend. And the story of how we met was crazy too. But you know, we clicked early, and the process that we have. Like I made a joke that like if I was Prodigy, then Tonio would be Havoc, or if I was Guru, then Tonio would be DJ Premier. Just to bring it back to hip hop, but the process that we go through, like with creating the characters, is like I have the most fun doing that. So like I have my character description. I'll send him the character description. Like this person looks like this, they do that. This is their backstory, blah blah blah. Then I'll do the references. I'll find like pictures of real people or works of art, like how I want them to look. I find pictures of their hair, pictures of the clothes, just this collage of information of how I envision this character to look. And then I send all that to him. He'll do a sketch, and then like the process of him piecing all that stuff together, because sometimes my thoughts can be a little chaotic, but he can follow me. He follows me well. And I put Shutterworth through this too. But it's like sometimes
I still
it
got
can
some
be
of those pictures.
right.
The Templars.
Like, yeah, all that. But like sometimes it can be a little chaotic, but you know, the art Tonio can piece it together. And he'll send me a sketch and I'll be like, oh shit, like that's it. Like that's the character. You know, like the crazy part, like with Jericho Cutter, like Tonio had never seen the original artwork and he didn't want to. He wanted to keep it pure to see if he could capture the vision the same way that Shutterworth did back in the day. But when Tonio and I went through the Jericho Cutter character design, it was spot on the first draft. I was like, oh shit, this is it. Like I sent him the pictures, I sent him the clothes, I sent him the description, he read the script, all that. He got it the first time. Like there were the only notes that we had that I had on the first draft of Jericho Cutter was like the accent color on his jacket. Like, but he got the look down like perfectly, exactly how I envisioned it and how I communicated it. And he also put a little twist on it. Like if y'all notice how dope Jericho's haircut is, that was all Tonio. Only reference I gave was a fade. Tonio put the lightning bolts in the side. Like that was all him. That was all him.
It's detailed, but it's distinct. So that was
yeah. Like
he
Tonio
evolved the Caesar brush cut.
Yeah,
with the razor in the pocket.
With the razor in the pocket. But yeah, like so that was a great example of like how he added his little twist, but it still fits the character, and that's why we work so well together. So that was my long-winded way, and forgive me, I'm a writer, so I use a lot of words. But that was my long-winded way to answer the question.
My Capadonna verse, I feel you.
Right. That was a cannabis verse. My bad.
Oh yeah, you came here with Desperados.
right. It just came out the blue. Like, oh damn, cannabis is on this album. But but yeah. So my favorite part is the writing from scratch, but the most enjoyable is that creative process. Coming up with these characters and what they look like and all that. Like,
so what's the worst? Like, I mean, because you went on about the good shit, like, but you know, it's two sides of the trap. You know, it's the good part and the cops get your ass locked up part. So, what's the part you don't like? The worst part?
This might sound crazy, but it's not the worst, but it's probably the part that I have to work on the most is stuff like this. Like, I'm used to being in the background, mad scientist, just creating all this shit and putting it out there. But like me being forward facing and talking about myself and doing like stuff like this, this is the part that it's not the hardest, but this is the part that I have to mentally get myself prepared to the most, because even professionally,
you're not an industry nigga.
Yeah, and like even in my professional life, I'm behind the scenes. I'm not in front of the camera. I never wanted to be in front of the camera. I never, like, people tell me. Matter of fact, It was the last time I did like a podcast interview. Somebody was like, "Yeah, you need to stop. You need to start celebrating yourself, and you need to start putting yourself out there more and talk about what you've done, and stop being so humble." And
Yeah, that was me. I told you
yeah,
that
that
shit.
was you. That
Like, I
was
was like, hold on, like, I called this dude up like the next day, like, bro, like,
yeah, that was you. That's right. But yeah, like I said, it's not the worst, but it's the part that I have to do the most work to do because I'm a behind the scenes type of dude. Like I said, like the mad scientist just coming up with all this crazy shit and coming up with all like writing and creating. Even when I was doing the beats, like I could just do that in a like I didn't need anybody to do that. Nobody needed to see me, but then you just put the product out there and the work speaks for itself. Like it's out there. So this is the
you got
part
that
that
blue
I
magic.
Huh?
I said, you got that blue magic.
Right. But that's the
So,
that's
let me
that's
ask you this. Hold on. So you know, so ever since Black Panther came out, you know, there's been a wave of, you know, niggas like, yo, I'm pro-black. Look at my comic book here. You know, Martin Luther King superpowers, this, that, and the third. So would you put your work as pro-black, or does it just speak for itself? You know, do you have to make an announcement for that shit, like a lot of people be doing, or?
Nah, it's like I don't like Odd Ninja Media in general. The mission statement is about creating authentic and diverse characters in stories. That's my goal and my mission. I want my work to be that. I don't have to really talk about it. You know what I mean? Like when you see
it's
Jericho
not a selling
Cutter,
point for your work.
Mm-hmm.
nah, because it's like when you see Jericho Cutter, you see this badass black man. You cannot deny that it's a black man. You know what I mean? Like, and that was very important to me. Like, I want this. Like I said, back when I was young and watching Wesley Snipes beating up all them terrorists and shit in the movies, like you see this badass black man doing all this shit. And that's what Jericho Cutter is. You know, like the world that Jericho Cutter exists in is a world that is so fucked up. There is like people don't have time to worry about race or religion or fighting with each other over this, that, and that. Everybody is fighting. Yeah, everybody is fighting to survive. And those who are not fighting, who seemingly live in luxury, they are puppets and cattle to the controlling power. They just don't know.
Say that again. Like, I like the double message in that. Like you was getting deep right there. Hold on. Like, almost reminds me of what's going on now.
Because, like, in the world of Jericho Cutter, you have the Chamber of Roses. The Chamber of Roses are like the quintessential, just like evil organization. Like, you think about Cobra, you think about the Nazis, you think about like all the villains from history and from comic books and TV series, you know, like the Decepticons. Like, imagine if all those groups, they actually succeeded in what they were trying to do. That is the world that Jericho Cutter exists in. Like, imagine Cobra and the Decepticons and the Nazis were all one group and they actually succeeded in doing what they wanted to do and take over the world. And not specifically those groups, but just as an example of like historical and legendary fictional villainous groups.
Oh, okay.
Imagine if they won, and the day after they won, that's when Jericho Cutter takes place. And it's like the rest of the people in the world trying to overcome that. And so I wanted to create a world where it was like the social and racial and political, religious aspects, they don't have as much influence over the people because they're all dealing with one horrible situation. Yeah, it's a common threat. and then they're fighting to survive, and they're fighting to get out of this, you know. And I wanted it to be representative of, you know, a world where you see like true diversity and everybody's like, you see people of color all over the place. You know what I'm saying? You see, you know, it's not like what I found is like there's a lot of stuff that it's one extreme or the other, where you'll have like all white people and a token black person, or you'll have like everybody is black. And that's no shot against those creators because they do their thing. But for me, I want to be more in the reality where you see everything. But because I am a black man, your lead and who you see every issue and who this whole story revolves around is a badass black man. And there's no denying that. You don't have to question it. You see this black man on the cover, you see him fighting. That's what was most important to me, because that's something that I always enjoy seeing, but I don't get to see it a lot. Like we don't get to see it that much. You know what I'm saying?
No kufis on them, or you know, no dashikis and no shit like that.
Because it's a fictional world. Like it's a it's a fictional world.
Niggas be pandering to this shit. So I'm gonna ask you one more question though. Tell me how it was when you met champion Franchon Cruz DeZerm.
Say that again.
Tell me how it was, like when you said you had because I know you're in the Virginia, you know that area. You know, you said you had met and just to let you know, women's boxing is popping right now. And you got a chance to be the champ.
Yeah.
He had met Franchon Cruz DeZerm.
Yeah. That was.
So tell us how that went down.
Yeah, that was dope. That was at like a luncheon. It was like a women's empowerment luncheon, and it was in DC. And one of the organizations that sponsored it, a lot of people that I work with were part of it, and they invited a bunch of us from work to go support it. And she was there. She just happened to be sitting at our table, and she was just telling me, like, she was dope. Like, she was just talking to me about, you know, her style and talking to me about what she's trying to do. And, you know, like, she's in Baltimore. The boxing didn't even come up early on. We were just having a conversation. He's like, oh, yeah, I'm a boxer. And I was like, oh, for real? And she's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, you follow me on Twitter, the hard-hitting diva. And I was like, yo, like, we got to keep in touch. Like, at the time where I worked, we had just launched this this channel that was targeted at young women, like women of color. It's called Clio TV. We had just launched that network, and you know, we had a bunch of stuff. So we had a bunch of shows, and I was like, yeah, we should keep in touch because maybe there's something that we can do related to this new network that we're launching. And like we kept in touch on via Instagram. But yeah, it was cool. Like, I don't think I've ever met a boxer in person and just had a conversation with them and not known they were a boxer during the conversation, and then they just bring it up like, oh yeah, by the way, I box. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then when I looked her up, I was like, oh, she doesn't just box. She is nice. Like,
and she's also a world champion too at that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, like this is not just some regular boxer. But yeah, that was dope. That was really cool. And I think the coolest thing, like I said, about it is I didn't know like how big she was while we were having that conversation. It wasn't until later, but it was just like she's like a real humble, you know, like regular person. You know what I'm saying? And I thought that was dope because, you know, my perception is that, you know, every boxer is like Floyd Mayweather or, you know, just loud and like, yeah, I got this, I'm that and that. Like I just assume that boxers are like that because they always have to talk about how great they are. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
So when you meet one and it's just like a regular cool person, like that stood out to me. That was dope.
I mean, but she didn't get the Floyd money yet, so you know.
Right.
Not yet, right?
Give her a chance.
Right. She might.
Yeah.
But I know she is humble as fuck. One of her biggest moments, I remember when that one fight where she was fighting that dude. I mean, did she test positive to be with the testosterone or some shit?
Yeah, no, she was fighting Alejandra Jimenez, who like, and the funny thing is too, because we watched the card, especially, you know, there's few that actually watched the card, and they did a fight interview, and Jimenez's voice was deep as the abyss, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, whoa, you know, that, and then, you know, when she got into the ring, she was shrugging off all types of shots and moving forward. I'm just like, yo, and then immediately I said, yo, this broad is on something. You know,
Dessert was hitting her with some haymakers, and like Shorty was just walking through them just like juggernaut.
Yeah, and she was brolic too. I was just like, and and she was talking about, you know, she was actual heavyweight. She was like 200 pounds, and then she went down to 164. I was like, there's no way in hell that you cut that type of and get that type of muscle without some help. And then, you know, unfortunately, Dessert took the loss then. But the post fight, you know, so she had testosterone in her system and shit like that. So obviously, it took some time though. But you know, they got they changed that to a no decision, and then Dessert managed to get both her belts back at the time. So
that's dope.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, and that's I mean, between that and of course, you know, her other big fight was she fought Clarissa Shields in her debut. You know, so yeah, she's she and it gave her one of her probably hardest fights too. It doesn't really get a lot of mention either. It was and also entertaining fight because they were swinging in that fight.
And she always in some good fights because she fought what's the name? Marie
Cornejo, yeah.
Cornejo. Yeah, that was like 2 fights with her that was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, the fight with Jimenez, that's the one where she's probably more famous for the whole wig meme.
Yeah, the wig meme and then the PEDs than the other fights.
But yeah, so shout out to her. That's a good story.
Yeah, thank you.
We keep it boxing here, so I know y'all.
I like how you tied that in. All that I was doing, and you found an organic way to tie it back to boxing. That's dope.
That's how we do, man. We'll tie boxing into anything, bro. Like,
yep.
Absolutely.
That's where you at, nigga. This ring game, nigga.
Yeah. I'm just glad I was able to provide you with the smooth transition, so it wasn't like I was just some random dude on here. You had to force it. So that was
like, yo, so randomly, did you happen to randomly watch any boxing last night?
Right.
I heard that was a real good card on ESPN.
So you seen 2 crackheads fighting in the alley last night? You said.
Right.
What would you technique?
If Jericho Cutter was a boxer, who do you think he would most be like? Yeah.
Yo, hold on. Honestly, that might be a low-key legit question.
Oh shit. I gotta do some. I gotta
do some research.
Maybe you can tell me.
I don't know the way he was. The way he be throwing those 1-2s on people. I don't know.
Oh, you know what? Real quick, I got a funny story about Jericho Cutter and boxing, and it's related to when Tonio finished the drafts of part 1. He looked at the original Jericho Cutter because he didn't want to see it until he was done, and he was blown away at how many things were similar. So was I. Like how many things y'all both captured the same way. But one thing that he noticed was the difference between the fight with Cyrus, and I don't want to spoil it in case anybody hadn't read it, and because I want you to read it. But Shuttleworth, he told me, he was like, yo, the OG artist had that Cyrus fight so much different. Like Jericho pummeled him, And I was like, yeah. Well, I was like, well, the difference is like he used to be a boxer, and boxing is like his life. Like he knows boxing better than anybody. That's what it was. He was like, oh shit, that's crazy. Like how that you use that background and put it into the art. The other thing about to tie it into boxing is that you were the only person that ever noticed how many people, particularly Jericho, were left-handed. Like you were like, oh, so Jericho's a southpaw. That's that boxing shit. And I was like, wow, like you really noticed that. Like I didn't even know. Tonio had to ask me if I noticed it. You noticed it immediately. And I was like, that's that boxing shit. So it's like, you know, shout out to you for putting all of your shit into like one frame of mind, and you can pull from all of it. The hip hop, the boxing, the art, and all that shit is like forward thinking, and it's always present. But that was dope. That was my Jericho Cutter boxing story. So I'm done.
No, I say thank you for that, because when we started collabing back in the day, I wasn't really drawing that much like that. Like I was like maybe 90% into rap, like rap, bars. Nigga was beat star, and it's like once you found out I could draw a little bit, you slowly brought the drawing out of me, and then it came to a point where I was drawing as much as I was rapping.
Oh, that's
so
dope.
I gotta credit you for kind of bringing me back into drawing, because before I met you, I was drawing. I think I was nice, but I kind of like did a black drool. I fell back from it a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I was like 3 stacks, you know. Had like a verse here and there, like
right.
I draw a picture once every 7 months. but yeah, so there was a lot of boxing on last night. You know, y'all gentlemen ready to get into that? Some
Oh yeah, definitely.